Hello, today we are going to look at the separation of powers and the checks and balances in our government to make sure that one branch does not get out of control. So, in looking at separation of powers, our Constitution places limits on the national government, dividing the power between the three branches of government. This system is put in place because it prevents a single government institution from becoming too powerful. And with separation of powers, we are going to have checks and balances where each branch can exercise some control over the others. It's also important to note that they can, with checks and balances, branches have checks within the branches. For example, the House of Representatives can do things that the Senate can't, and the Senate can do things that the House of Representatives cannot. So, in looking at this, I just briefly want to go through this diagram to kind of show you some of the checks that each branch has on the other. So you can see the green represents the checks the executive has over the judicial and the legislative. So the president can veto bills and implement new laws passed by Congress, and he can also, or he or she can also appoint federal judges and pardon federal criminals. The courts, their checks are in the blue. So the Supreme Court can rule executive actions unconstitutional, and they preside over different impeachment proceedings. They can also rule laws unconstitutional and rule on the meanings of various laws passed by Congress. In Congress, in looking at the Supreme Court, their checks over the court are Congress can confirm or deny judicial appointments. They can impeach and remove federal officials, and then they can create, regulate, and fund the courts. Okay. And looking at their checks over the president, they can override a veto. They can approve or reject presidential appointments. They can ratify treaties. They can also impeach and remove the president or the vice president and other federal officials. Then they can also reduce funding for different and various executive agencies as well. So you can see that our system is put in place because each branch has powers that can kind of keep the other two branches in check.